The only person that's winning is that hotel manager, man. He's watching you. If you next time you're in the poker room, just look up at the cameras because someone is watching you. And that's the hotel manager. He's like, thank you. Cha-ching. Cha-ching. Thank you very much. Like and it's like, and everyone thinks, oh, but I only bet $50. I only bet 20. I only bet 10. Man, that adds up, man, to some beautiful amounts of money.
Yeah, it does.
And that's unless you break it down like that, and you if you say you're doing it for fun, you need to check yourself. Because it's a silly man's game, man.
That's Glenn Draper. These days, he's a dedicated family man who won't touch a drink, a total 180 from the wildly destructive life he once lived. Glenn is a recovering drug and gambling addict who used to pride himself on pushing the limits of excess. His relationship with gambling started at a young age and exploded when he entered manhood.
Played pokies. This is gonna blow your mind, but I reckon probably 4 times a week, at least, for 10 years.
He pumped hundreds of thousands through the pokies, lived paycheck to paycheck, chasing cheap highs, and desperately lacked love and purpose in his life. It was a road that was leading to a sad end, but fortunately for Glenn, he found a strong enough reason to change and pulled himself out of a tailspin.
Now I'm a dad and I've sobered up and I'm a good boy. I'm a good dad. I'm no longer try hard. I'm a genuine good person. I love things for what they are and people love me for who I am. And that's what I finally realized.
There are a few mistakes Glenn hasn't made and many things he's not proud of, but he's not shying away from it and doesn't let it define the man he is today. Glenn's telling his story because he wants to be an example to others who are in that trap that there's a way out. And he wants to spread the message to young men that gambling isn't a game. Welcome to Young Blood, a podcast all about young men's health. My name's Callum McPherson, I'm a journalist, and this is our mission to talk about the stuff that matters and isn't talked about enough. Let's do it. This episode has been made possible by Kookaburra Homes, the home builder that cares about the community. Kookaburra is big on investing in projects that support mental health and is an awesome supporter of Young Blood's mission to improve the lives of young men by opening up these conversations that we need to have. When was the first time you gambled?
Oh, straight off, just like that. Oh man, going to Oakbank races and grabbing $10 off my old boy and just going and putting a bet on a horse. No worries at all. Like, no worries at all. I was 13. 13, has to be 13, like 13, maybe 14. Going to Oakbank and then just, going hard and... I was with my older brother. I don't think so. I would have remembered if it got up. I would have lost, like most of them.
But that didn't stop you.
Oh hell no. No. That was just a little taste, I suppose. That was the first bit of exposure. Was at the track. Like it's only maybe 2 or 3 times a year in Adelaide that you have the big races like Adelaide Cup and Oakbank was always a great one with the family and that full festival environment in the middle, and then you get over to the other side and that's where all the punting's going on and the drinking.
And what was your family's attitude towards gambling?
Look, it's just part of our culture, isn't it? Like it's just part of their culture, how they've been, their whole lives, I suppose, as well. It's just there, and we celebrate the Melbourne Cup and we celebrate these big horse races and AFL sporting event. The gambling wasn't there for AFL back then, you know what I mean? I don't think it might have been, but not.
Wasn't as easy.
Yeah, it wasn't as easy.
Yeah.
So, but that was the first bit of gambling, I suppose, 13, 14,
And were your parents big punters or they just had a flutter?
Nah, my old man, like most old boys, they read the guide and they think they know it all on the day, but they're just, they're having
never
a
comes
crack.
through.
Yeah, it never really comes through. They're not making millions off it,
Yeah,
are they?
that's
Like,
part of the fun.
Unless your old man's just like a head trainer, you're not going to be.
You're talking absolute shit.
You're talking shit, Dad. Like I look back now, I'm like, oh my God, he's got the guide. He must know what he's talking about. I'll get a tip off him. Nah.
Do you remember the feeling? Did you get the buzz off it?
Nah, I wouldn't have got the buzz. No way. Like it was just because it wasn't my money, and it was just kind of. It was like it was pretty much just like how your parents give you $10 go on a ride. That's kind of what it was like, It was just old boy was betting or whatever, and I was going, let me have a turn, and I did it, and I went up to the bookie, and the bookies aren't going to check your ID. There's bloody money coming everywhere, and I was a bit taller, bigger lad, and he's just taking the money, and that was it. I got the ticket, went back to Dad, probably gave him the ticket, and then just watched the race.
Yeah, and money doesn't mean anything to you.
And that's it. Money at that time, you're like, I could have bought a hot dog and a Coke would be the same thing. It was kind of just move on from there. Later on, it got a bit hectic.
How did it develop?
Yeah, so when I was 15, I'd moved back from WA. I'd spent some time over there. I'd been a naughty kid, essentially, and my parents shipped me off, and I went to a private school, a boarding school in WA, and I kind of, didn't really sharpen up. I was still a bit naughty, but street smart in a way as well, but mixing with the older kids and always wanted to be an adult when I was young, always wanted to be 18, 19 and just live that life and where you can gamble and you can
bit of excitement.
Go see hookers, like whatever, like all that stuff. I was just fascinated.
You were looking for the danger and the edge and the adventure.
Yeah, I was like, it's cool being a kid, but like what they're doing is nuts. Like that's so good. Like I used to think, like, look at my parents or whatever. I love my parents,
so
but like
you put that on a big pedestal. That freedom. The freedom
and like the ability to just go out and just do whatever you want whenever you want it, like not having anyone tell you off. I was still getting in trouble if I do the wrong thing. Obviously I got sent away to boarding school, but and that kind of helped. Like my grades were ridiculous. Like I went from public school and went over there. I went to private school. I learned a lot about finance. But I was peddling, I was pushing drugs, and I was doing a bit of everything that you shouldn't be doing at that age, I was just very developed, and the gambling was definitely, around the circles there, we'd play a bit of poker and stuff like that. I remember being in the boarding house just playing poker with, small change and stuff, but it was like you're in prison, bro. Like, oh man, it was,
But
it was crazy time.
You liked sort of being that guy.
I was always
into the shady
stuff. I was
always,
the shady luck. But I was like younger, but I would act older. If you know what I mean, like
you just thought it was cool.
I just thought it was cool, and I thought I was the coolest guy. I look back and I'm like, I was a douche. I was a full-on douche. I don't like people who are like me back then because it's like I was trying to be something that I wasn't.
Trying too hard.
Yeah, I was a tryhard, full-on tryhard. My brother calls me the tryhard. Now I'm a dad, and I've sobered up, and I'm a good boy. I'm a good dad. I'm no longer a tryhard. I'm a genuine good person. I love things for what they are, and people love me for who I am, and that's what I finally realized. And so I can put all the gambling, the high risk stuff, I can put it away,
but it's taken some work.
I've survived my teens and I survived the 20s, and the start of the 30s I was still bad. It's only been the last 2-3 years that I've sharpened up and really took a step back and looked in at who I was, and answered a lot of questions that needed to be asked. And it's good, man. It's like you can tell I'm in a good spot. Like I'm mentally in a good spot.
You're glowing.
I'm glowing.
So how did it progress from those poker games with, a few dollars on the table to full on gambling?
Yeah, all right. So it was the pokies, they're non-existent in Perth. Like you can only play the pokies. Pokies are the problem, were my big problem. So the pokies in WA non-existent except in the casino. So that was not an issue there. I didn't go to the TAB and betting horses or anything like that in WA. I was a school kid, I was just like, little bit of shit around the dorm rooms and all that.
But you wanted people to see that you were that guy.
I was a baller, man. I had heaps of money. I had so much money. Like I had, through my team there,
nefarious activity.
I was bootlegging alcohol, man. Like I was going to the bottle and getting like cases of bourbon and bringing them back into the dorm house, and people would come into my room and I'd open up and I'd just have a shot, man. I'd have bourbon and vodka and an ounce of weed always.
Yeah.
So people would just be
and that was your identity.
That was my identity.
This grimy hustler, and you're like, I'm so sick.
But I was also like in centre forward in the first 18.
Okay.
Bowling in the first 11. Yeah, I was just, I don't know. I was just trying to do everything, trying to keep everyone happy. That's what I was like. And I was like that for a long time until a couple of years ago.
And trying to be your archetypal version of what it was to be a man and the
exactly.
The manliest man.
Yeah, I was trying to be that, the alpha male, the big dog.
Where did
Like, I
that
was
come
the big
from?
dog.
Like from the movies?
Yeah, it's weird, man. Where would it come from? Yeah, maybe I could just smoking dope. Maybe just took me to another place. Like I was high a lot of that time, so it was like when I'm high, I'm unbeatable, and that's what I felt like. It was like my super drug, to start off. I was just high, and I would probably do things that people would regret, like massively. Like I did things that I'm very embarrassed about, and not many people know. But yeah, that would just allow me to be whatever. And I was like, and then I could always go like, oh well, I was stoned, I'd be like,
Yeah, so it was that excuse as well.
It was always an excuse. I used it as my superpower, but my excuse.
But you felt like it was a big part of what built up your persona.
Yeah.
Was coming from that.
Yeah, and it was all coming from that, and it was fueling this character. It was a character. Yeah, like I had these alter egos and everything like that. It was weird, and like gambling's part of it, and drugs is part of it, drinking's part of it. It's all kind of.
And you're trying to keep up this sort of front as well.
Yeah.
Were you able to? Did you think that was you? Were you under the delusion that you were the same? Or did you feel like you were putting on a mask or putting it on?
Yeah, looking back now, I can honestly say I knew I was putting it on because I wasn't happy when I would be alone. I never liked to be alone. I always liked the attention. Yeah. I always wanted approval, and like later on in life, I realized that's what it was. My old man left. My real father left when I was young, right? And all I ever wanted was an answer to that. And then like, why did he leave? How could Dad leave? How could my dad leave? Like, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. That didn't matter. I was kind of molding and shaping my own being. And I always wanted to be in control. I've always been the captain or vice captain of the team, like leading from the front, stuff like that. I failed a lot because I said I was going to do stuff and never actually went through with that. That's my biggest flaw in life, is that I said I was going to quit, or I said I was going to do this, and then I just like shit on it, And that's where I beat myself up because that's what I was like, and now I'm trying just so hard at being that person that if you say you're going to do something,
follows through.
Yeah.
What was the first time you played the pokies in?
First time I 100% remember it was at the Duck Inn, Coromandel Valley, beautiful place. I had my first beer there as well, probably around the same time, when I'd come back. I was already drinking, but it was the first time at the pub buying a beer over the bar, and I went there, had a meal with my parents. They were playing the pokies. They loved it. They love a gamble, at the time they had, disposable income, whatever.
So when you went out for dinner, they'd go and have a
you just have a flutter, like a lot of people do, have a bit of a flutter and stuff. And I wasn't going to sit there, I was old enough. I was, drinking a beer probably at the table. I'd kind of, matured. I was working by then as well. I was working a full-time job, so I was like, I went in there and just joined my parents and sat next to mum, and it's so good. Like I remember just the lights and everyone in there was happy. It wasn't like, as it progressed, it ended up being like the dungeon, like you're going in the dirty old pokey room.
And everyone else in there
and everyone
not
in there is
happy.
just like not happy, and they're like, get free games, you need to have a durry. Or it was just
Was
it was
that-
a beautiful place.
Was that just the way you saw it with your innocent eyes at that time?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's like,
You didn't go
it's
there on,
really-
on a good day.
yeah, no, it wasn't. I
It's
wasn't
never a
just
good
in a
day.
great mood. I was
Yeah.
just like, I was a kid in a candy store, man. It's like I liked gambling. I liked gambling before then, but I'd never had it like you can go any time and put $1 in, and there's a chance you can win $100 in the free games. And I was like, this is sick. Like, this is actually so cool. Like, and the lights there and the features, and my parents explained, like, oh, if you get 3 of those, you get free games. And I'm like, well, what is, oh, you get 3 games, it's times by 3. So if you win something, it's times by 3, and you win heaps of money. And it's like, shit, like, it's just like, this
You're like,
is
there's
pretty
no
cool.
downside.
Like, I was just like, well, you can't lose. Like, yeah. I joke about that with friends, just like, yeah, if I was, you got to play pokies because you just can't lose. Like, it's just what you don't lose on. Like, but you do, kids, you do. Yeah.
You do.
But
So how did that develop from there? Did you have a win that first day?
yeah. I remember had a sneaky win. I reckon it was Indian Dreaming. I remember I played Indian Dreaming, got 3 games and won about $20, and it was a pat in the back. I was only betting 20 or 25 cents. It would have been 25 cents on there. So won credit 25 lines, and got 3 games, won some money, and then gave it to mum. But I was just like, this is sick. And every time we'd go there, you know, once a week or once a fortnight, and they'd do the same thing, and it'd be just that mum gives a couple of dollars, and I'd go off and I'd play the machine. And I became friendly with the staff. You know, I was drinking coffees. I was drinking hot chocolates. You know, and this is why I hate the ducking now, because they didn't have karaoke. They had a pool table. They got rid of it. They didn't have any entertainment in that place
because they wanted you to be
because they wanted to be in that poker room. They wanted that renovation. That's what every place is like. But they didn't have the entertainment for me out there. There's no kids corner. There's no kids. I'm not going to go colour in a book that they provided. Like there's nothing for kids. So for families, there was nothing, right? So we'd gone in there, and I'm like, mate, 15, 16, 17 through that time. Loved it, you know, and I love my parents for taking me in there, because it was like they let me learn, you know. Like, I don't hate them for it. I can't blame them for it. Like, partially, I won't be taking my daughter in, but anyway, it's just hopefully by then, me and Nick Xenophon are going to team up and put an end to pokies in pubs.
Yeah, so
that's the plan.
A pretty big advocate for that.
Massive. Yeah. Put them in the cast, all good. Hotels, pubs, everyone get together, put your phones down, and just what it used to be: karaoke, pool, darts. Fuck, man, like everything about the pub when I was a real little kid was like everyone was there and you were playing games, and it was a laugh, and everyone was sharing stories and stuff like that.
That community.
Now it's just like, oh yeah, I've got to put a bet on this race. I'm going to put a mystery bet on, or I'm going to go quickly, you know, slap $50 in the pokies. Shit, man, that's half a person's day.
Yeah, it's all about you and the screen now, not about the community.
100%. And you shut everyone else off, man. Yeah, it's scary. Like, it's scary.
So when did those bets start to get bigger as you got older?
Yeah, just as I got older, you realise that, you know, if you go in with $20 and you win 100, then you can start betting on dollar spin, you know, like that's just how it is. Every pokey player knows that that's how it is, you know. You progressively work your way up, and then by the time I was 19, I'd finished up playing with Westies, and I got offered to go up to Darwin and play in Darwin, and that's when the problem really started to, because I was lonely, right? So I moved up there. I had my teammates. I had a good job. I really enjoyed my job working at Subway. But
you had a certain amount of time that needed to be filled in.
Yeah. I had every night. Like I didn't have a girlfriend. I had a housemate. I didn't like my housemate. He was a bit of a goob. He was an umpire.
Bloody hell.
So I lived with an
umpire.
Oh my God. He used to dress up in his umpiring outfit and do like holding the ball in the lounge room, bro. It was the most like...
He sounds like a laugh, man.
Oh, bro. Tim Powell, if you see this, no, you're a good dude, man. But seriously, he had his sweatbands on, boots, like he had his shoes laced up.
He's passionate.
And I was like, I fucking got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I got to get out.
So you wanted a place
yeah,
to be.
And I found a local like down the road, man. I just found a local, and they're just good people, man. Like, I just found good people in the pubs. Lots of characters up in Darwin as well. Like shit, some of the stories.
A lot of money to spend as well.
A lot of money to. Oh man, that was the thing. They're like out in the trawlers. The guys on the boats, they'd come in. They'd work, I don't know, 6 weeks, and they'd come back for 2 weeks with, fuck, man, like I'm talking like probably 20 grand in their pocket.
Just burn it.
And they're just like, they don't have a wife, kids, nothing. And they're like, they stayed and lived at the Hotel Winnelly. They lived at the hotel when they're back. So they're only back for 2 weeks. And they'd go in there, and I ended up working at the Winnelly. So I knew all the boys. I knew the manager, everything. It was a titty bar as well. It was so good. But they had, the guys would just wake up in the morning, they'd get their Bloody Mary, and then they'd go straight in the pokies, and they'd open the doors at 8 o'clock for them, right? And they'd play from 8 o'clock till 3 a.m. in the morning when they close, right? I'd be there from most nights from 9:30 to, like 9:30 till midnight. And if I didn't have anything the next day, I'd stay there a bit longer or whatever, have a few drinks. But it would be just what I could afford. Like I would run out of my $200, like, you know, probably in 2 hours, but I'd linger and I'd hang with the boys, and I'd be like commentating, the support. If you've ever played the pokies, anyone that's played the pokies, you get around a dude that's got 3 games, or he's about to get a jackpot, he's close to getting a jackpot, you get around him. And we're all like a crew. Like I never went away in a ship. I would get seasick. I'd be hopeless at that job. But I was like the fisherman, man. But I was just hanging in there.
Yeah, so you liked the camaraderie.
I like the camaraderie,
of it.
and I found friends in a pokey room, and that's the truth. Like you do.
Did you think that you could beat the system?
No,
Or did you deep down know, like, you know,
I
you're
knew
not
every
gonna
time. I knew every time I was losing. I knew every single time I played the pokies, I was more than likely going to leave with less than I went in
Yeah.
with.
And how often did you leave with less than you came in?
98% of the time.
Yeah.
98% of the time, and that isn't without hand on my heart.
Mm.
And I would have played pokies. This is gonna blow your mind, but I reckon probably 4 times a week at least for 10 years.
And with the amount going up each after
And the amount
certain
going up
amount of
each time, but it was just what I could afford. I got a big contract for football where I was earning $1,000 a week, and that was just like either drugs or pokies.
And the pokies, it wasn't about winning for you. It wasn't about the money.
And that's it. It got to that point. It wasn't.
What was it about? It was just having somewhere to belong.
It was there, but it was a habit. It was my itch, you know, like, because I could do dope. I could smoke dope whenever I wanted. I hid my gambling from everyone. I didn't hide my drug taking, my alcoholism from anyone, right? Because
you felt like that fit the persona you wanted to be, but the gambling,
I was ashamed of.
You got ashamed of
it,
yeah.
To an extent, like I'd play with mates. Like I would play with mates. You know, we'd go into syndicates together and stuff. Oh, we'll put $50 in each. Yeah, no worries, $50 for me. I'm like, yeah, $50, bro, yeah, whatever. And I'd play with them, and then everyone would leave, and I'd leave at the same time. I'd go
and then go back in.
I'd drive and I'd come back in.
Yeah.
And I would sit back on the machines that we lost on, and I would probably pump another 200, 300, 400, 500. Like, man, I lost 6K in a sit-in, you know? 6K just like in half an hour.
And when you were sitting there after losing that much, what was going through your head?
Dark thoughts, man.
Yeah, what was driving it?
It was just like, nah, you're gonna come out clean. You're gonna be even. I wasn't even chasing like a bulk win, you know. I wasn't even chasing a bulk win. You know about the bulk win, but I wasn't chasing that. I was just there because it was like that rush and the chance of winning the free games. And in the free games, you can get ×3, ×5, like a massive win. It's just like that feeling is cool. But even when I did, like I won some bulk things. Like people, if you know pokies, like Shogun, right? So on Shogun, I'm betting $9 a spin. That's at the stage I was at. And I got 3 games, and then I got all substitutes across the middle, and I think it ended up being like $6,000 or something. It was like, but then I put it all back in.
Yeah.
I put it all back in.
That's how it goes.
Man. That's just how it goes. I didn't have the power in me, the discipline in me to walk away. Bro, that's so bad. I think about it now.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
like,
that's what
it would do for
on.
my family now. And like I'm doing renovations, extensions. Lucky I can do it myself, but that's just materials. Like I could buy so many materials with that and build my house, man. Like
yeah, but at that time you didn't have a house you were trying to build.
I didn't have. I didn't have to answer to anyone either.
You didn't have a good enough reason to not do it.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later, but bring this up. But it's like I know how to get out of it. Like I know how, and you need to have the honest chats, and you need to have someone else see your bank account. That's all it is. Yeah.
And I think it's something that for people who've never done it, it just seems like the dumbest thing in the world, like pokies, right? Because you're like, you know you're not going to win. Even if you're doing it, you know you're not going to win, but you're doing it anyway.
I know.
Because you're getting high off it.
Yeah, it's the endorphins. It's the adrenaline.
That's right.
Adrenaline.
And that's the answer.
The fear of loss, the fear of defeat, the fear of and the thrill of winning.
And the stimulation of the lights and everything. Yeah. And then also a lot of people like it because it's just their escape. They want to go and sit in that room to get away from wherever they're getting away from.
See your homies in there, man. You're going to see newfound friends, people that are struggling as well. Like I'm a deep person, and I have deep chats with a lot of people that I don't know, like we're doing now. But they're at their lowest point there, and they're gambling their money they shouldn't be gambling. But they're there, and you talk to them. I'm like, "How you going tonight?" And they're like, "Not great."
But that's everyone in there after a certain amount of time. There's no one who's been in there for any amount of time that's doing well. Is there? But there's so many people doing it, man.
No.
And
I know the only person that's winning is that hotel manager, man. He's watching you. If you next time you're in the poker room, just look up at the cameras because someone is watching you. And that's the hotel manager. And he's like, thank you. Cha-ching. Cha-ching. Thank you very much. Like not, and it's like, and everyone thinks, oh, but I only bet $50. I only bet 20. I only bet 10. Man, that adds up, man, to some beautiful amounts of money.
Yeah, it does.
And that's like, unless you break it down like that, and you if you say you're doing it for fun, you need to check yourself. You need to check yourself because it's a silly man's game, man. You're better off. I'll tell you right now, the best thing, and I wish I did. I wish when I had my big win, which we'll probably talk about, I wish I just bought a machine. Straight up. I wish I bought myself a machine because I had a little crew we could have had at the club. I had a little club. We could have had it at the club and boys could have played it and got their fix from it. Everyone wins. You know, whatever you put in, I'll make sure you take home. You know, and get that little bug. But I never did it, man. I was always just like, no.
Of course you didn't do it.
I'll just feed it. Hid it from my girlfriends. Like I had girlfriends through those times as well. And it wasn't ugly because I knew that every week I was going to be, every Tuesday I got paid. Right? Or every Saturday I got paid for footy after the game. Every Tuesday I got paid for my job. So I was like, I got paid from footy, disposable income, right? So I had bulk coin. I had nothing before the game started. I had to play well. It inspired me. If I played well, I get an extra $300. So I'm like, fuck, I'm going to kill it today. And one year I got, incentives for kicking goals. So $10 a goal. So I just try and hold as many.
You were really motivated for the right reasons.
I was super motivated for the right reasons, yeah. I was like, footy players chasing a contract, they're like, they got their money straight up, but I was like, I needed that money. Like I had that hunger in me because I needed that money.
So you could
so
piss
I could
it
party.
up the wall.
Yeah, so I could piss it up or rack it, No, but that was it. It was, that was the cycle for a long time, but there was no care in the world. I didn't feel bad because I was like, I didn't owe anyone money. My rent would always come out on the Tuesday. So I'd make sure that every bill, rent, phone bill, fill up the car, stuff that I needed to
taken
do
care
was
of.
just taken care of.
So you were like, what else am I going to do with it?
Yeah, but I would be broke every week. Like now, I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I don't gamble. I'm still living a very good life. I love my life. I filled with fun, but none of those three things. And I'm not paycheck to paycheck. I'm saving $1,000 a week. Like it's because
that's where the cost comes
discipline.
in.
Yeah. It's like, you have responsibilities as you get older, but the responsibilities are there. You just don't see it.
Well, you have to choose to take it on.
Yeah.
You always have the choice to go and build something for your life or change something or find a better reason, but it's just whether you're open to it or not. And no one else can do that for you.
Exactly. So.
You have to find something that means enough to you.
Yeah. You find it within yourself. And if you do that by yourself, if you can overcome an addiction by yourself, you're a super, super strong person, right? Very strong person. I've been blessed to have my wife. Like my wife is just everything. Like, yeah. Through all of them,
Yes, you haven't done it alone.
Yeah, I haven't done it alone. No way. And now my daughter's here. It's like she's that's that motivation to keep on keeping on.
That's your reason.
That's the reason. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to me because she's not with me. My wife isn't with me every minute of the day. So to not smoke cigarettes is like, it's hard because I'm like,
because you could do it.
And I see them having a dart and a coffee. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you can get away with it.
And I know I can. She wouldn't know. Well, she does. She thinks she knows every time. She doesn't.
She'd know because you'd give it away.
Yeah, I'd crack. And now, I'd give it away. I'd be acting weird. And she's like, what's wrong?
And you'd be like, definitely not smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm smoking. I mean, what?
So when did you, how did it develop from there? When were you losing big amounts all the time and it started to actually make more of an impact?
All this came to head. So I've pretty much talked up to where I was with footy. Footy was earning me that money, that disposable income. Anyway, so I'll go to the story of when I had my big win, right? And this is when the problem became big, like huge. I used to play pokies at my local, the Victoria Hotel in Shepparton, Victoria. It was a Tuesday night. I've gone in, last $10, pokies, has to be, and I was getting paid the next day, so it didn't matter. Going to the pokies, $10 straight in the machine. You didn't need to change them into coins over there. It's just notes, which is dangerous. So $10 in the machine, one bet, whatever, credit, 20 20 lines. It was a $1 spin. Anyway, I get the free games in the first spin, free games in the free games, and the last spin of the free games, I win the jackpot. All right. So the jackpot in South Australia maxes out at probably 10K at a local pub. Over there, my jackpot was at $48,586.45. I looked up the other day.
Off $10.
Off $10, right? But this machine had been like crediting like for 8 months.
Builds up.
It builds up. It's 4 machines linked together, and it had this jackpot. It had this Mad Dog jackpot at the top, and I remember seeing it. This was just before Easter, right? So this is where the story will come together. This happened at Easter, and I remember at Christmas time, just before Christmas, I was there, and I was heading back to Adelaide, and I was like, oh my God, like that's gonna go off at Christmas. It's gonna make someone's Christmas, and I'm so happy for them. But when I got back from Christmas holidays, still going, then anyway, I won it just before Easter. And I was just like, that was the feeling, right? Oh, I get chills like thinking about that was the feeling that I probably wanted. You know what I mean? Like,
but you never actually expected.
I never expected it. You always want it, and you're like, what is it going to take for me to get it? And it runs through your head a million times. If you play the pokies like I did, you think about it when you're laying in bed. It's in your dreams, like the games in your dreams. When I won the jackpot, it just wasn't real. It was a dream. It was a lucid dream. It was like I was there, but it wasn't actually happening in real life. It's like flying in your dream, like you're like, yes, I'm the first man to fly. When you win a jackpot like that, you feel like, yeah, it's not real. Anyway, I got pinched by like 20 people because they were just like, yeah, it's happened. It's real. It's happened. All these like old ladies and nanas are just like, oh my God, I was playing that 10 minutes ago. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, sure you were, love.
Yeah, sure you were, love. Here, I'll buy you a drink. No, I didn't have any money. That's the funny thing. The funny thing is all my machine to my name was in that fucking machine. I did not have a cent. So when the hotel manager comes over and just checks it and goes, well, there you go. Here's the information. You got to take all this information down to Tatslotto in Melbourne. So I had to get this form, and I'm like, well, can I have some money now? And they're like, oh, sorry, but we can't. It's all in here. It's in the paperwork. And I'm like, I don't have any money to buy a drink, bro.
So you were
I couldn't go to, I was flat. When I say I had my last $10, I had my last $10. I had to borrow money from my housemate. I was like, my missus there, I didn't want to borrow from her. I never borrowed money from my girlfriend. I'll borrow money from my housemate. He come down and we had a night.
But you'd gambled it all the way to that point.
Oh, yeah.
You had nothing left, yeah.
Yeah, I had nothing left. So from that was my week to week.
So you went from nothing to
nothing.
like
I went from 0 to $48,586.45. That's what it was instantly, right? Or no, I had to wait till the next day. And then 3 days for the check to clear. Uh-huh. So I was just...
You were itching.
I was itching. I was like, I was living like a king. Anyway, but after 3 days...
So what happened when you got it?
When the problems really started. So you have 48,000 with a horrible gambling addiction, a drug addiction as well.
Great.
Drinking. I was playing really good footy that year as well. Like that was the year I had incentive, like goal incentive. A couple of weeks before I kicked 14 goals, 8. So I had a very good splurge that weekend.
Who were you playing?
I know. The team were terrible that year. They ended up killing us the next year. It was weird. But yeah.
Because they all got put on the incentive.
Yeah, they got on the incentive. So like the club ran out of money, probably paying me and the other boys. We won the flag that year. We had a killer team. So that was a memorable year, 2009.
You were on a pretty serious high.
I was high every single day. Right. From that day, I was high every day. And it wasn't just like a high in life. I was getting high every day. It turned into my housemate loved gear and we partied. Like, I didn't really sleep much. I just partied hard. Go to the pokies at 10 in the morning, slap 500, grab 500 out, from the bank. I'd set up a long-term deposit, 30 grand straight in a long-term deposit, right? 30 grand, bang. Remembering I won the money in Easter. So, April. Come home, that weekend was Easter. I had the money. I was rich. Celebrated with my family, went to Oak Bank, of all places.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Bet, won $6 grand at the casino. Then I won bulk money that day at Oak Bank as well. I put $50 on the nose of a horse called Happy Glenn. Happy Glenn,
And
because
you're
my name's
like,
Glenn.
I'm
like, bang.
It's gonna make me happy.
I put $50. I gave the bookie $50. He gave me the ticket and $50 change. So it was a free $50 bet. The horse came in paying 8s. It was like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. So I'm just balling.
So you're like, I can't lose.
I'm balling. My whole family put money on Happy Glenn as well.
All right, okay.
So I was like, it was a day. And
So
then we went
like,
to casino.
gambling loves me.
I wasn't drinking. I wasn't drinking. I didn't need to drink because drink would bring me down and stuff. So I was just like,
but you're on drugs though.
Yeah. I'd be partying. And we went out to the casino and I'm playing like 3-card poker and hitting straight flushes on 3-card poker, which is just fucking unheard of. I'm just bang, bang, bang. But this is just fueling the beast. So after that weekend, I'm up around 50. I'm up around like 58 maybe. But I had a wad. Like I had a wad of cash plus whatever's in the bank. So then go back to Shepparton, and then that cycle, that horrible cycle, it was just like wasting, earning and blowing so much money.
And more than before now.
Football. So football was earning good money, around about $1,000. I quit my job, the next day. So when I won the money, I quit my job the next day because that's just what you do. I didn't have time for that. It was a shit job. Concrete pipe making factory. So I quit that.
With the idea of focusing more on the pokies?
Yeah, pretty much, bro. I thought in my mind, I had enough money to survive on footy for the next decade. I thought I was sorted for 10 years. That's my mindset. I was like, I'm sorted. Like, even if I bet like $500 here and there on the pokies, I'll be right because I'm still earning from footy. I've still got this. I've got the long-term deposit. My parents are like, that long-term deposit would be great. Like in 10 years' time, that's going to be
You're like, that's going to be gone real soon.
No, I was confident that time that was going to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started turning nasty. So it was bad. It was bad. I was in this.
And when you're back in Shepparton and you were, repeating that cycle, but did you go bigger now because you had all this cash?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I was max betting. No, I'd never max bet. There you go. I'd never max bet before then. Only if I'd had a big, big win. You know what I mean? So when I won the 48K, that's when I started going the 9s, the $9 a spin or $10 a spin. And that's when your money just goes poof. Because over there, it's no like getting cups of coins. It's just notes, man. So I'd go in with a wad of, 500. I'd go in a rubber band, we call it. So rubber band, and I just go put all 500 in one machine, bang, and just go max bet, bang. And it can go in 5 minutes, man. $500 can go in 5 minutes. It can go in 2 minutes, man. Honestly, if you get nothing, 2 minutes, man. It's unbelievable how quick you can just lose money playing the pokies. At least with a horse. If you have a horse riding,
you have the build up.
You have to build up. And you got to look at the form and look at the form and the jockey. Oh, he's on weight. Yeah,
make a big deal of it all.
Oh, it's a bit wet weather. Oh, yeah, I reckon I've got a chance. Yeah. No, you got no fucking.
It's a bit of a process, especially if you're actually at the races.
And then at the race, and there's a banter going around you. It's like a slow way of losing your money.
The pokies just like gone.
If you want to quickly lose your money, go play the pokies. If you want to lose your money slowly, invest into Bitcoin. No, I don't. No, if you want a slow way of losing your money, yeah, go to the horses. But I suppose it's a lot more entertaining, the horses and sports betting. It's entertainment. But my entertainment was in the pokies. That's like why people play them. And this is the raw, uncut version of a proper pokey addiction, which I'm sharing. But yeah, from there it was just that's all I bet. I bet max bet for. Long story short, it was Christmas that year. I decided to move back to Adelaide, and I'd already tapped into my long-term deposit. All right, so 20 grand left. 20 grand was gone in, that time, that short space of time. No, it's not 20 grand though, because it's 20 grand plus
everything
footy
you won.
and all the things I won.
Yeah.
So maybe nudging 40 grand, dude. Horrible. So 40 grand, and then got back to Adelaide to escape the pip, essentially, because I was like, I didn't have a gambling problem. I was escaping ice. So I got away from Victoria and Shepparton because of ice. And like we spoke about earlier, before we recorded, lost 3 friends that next year to suicide, because of the ice. The ice was the epidemic at the time, It was worse than COVID, man. Way worse than COVID. And I'm talking like when I was there was 90% of the people I hung out with were doing it. It was like drinking a beer. Smoking it was like drinking a beer.
Yeah. And what did you see that do to people? And what did it do to you?
Oh, it makes you superhuman. It's like it's a crazy drug. If you've never done it, don't do it. If you've done it before, you know what I'm talking about. It's crazy good while you're doing it, and you don't ever want to lose that high, because when you come down, that come down is just like, the come down is just so bad that you just don't want to feel like that.
Well, that's the main reason that people stay on it.
And that's exactly right. And that's it. And that's like most drugs. It's like you don't want the pain and the come down. With gambling, you don't have the dirty come down, you know? You feel awful afterwards. And I've never lost a house, you know, like I know people that have lost a marriage and lost, you know, houses and stuff like that. And I feel so sorry for them, but I never lost a house. I'd lost everything that I'd earned.
So you think probably lucky that at that time you didn't have stuff to your name, didn't have assets.
Yeah. I had a shit Ford Falcon. It was like I won 50 grand and I bought this piece of shit banged up old Ford Falcon. I could have bought anything. I was like, I didn't want an expensive car. I just wanted an A to B. As long as I could get to the pokies. You know, it was terrible. Like my mindset was awful at that time, and I didn't have my parents there to help me. But saying that, then they might have been playing the dingers with me, you know? Like it's just, I didn't have anyone like sat me down and saying, you will stop this. You know, look me in the eye and say, you will stop
that
this.
voice of reason.
The voice of reason.
Yeah.
My wife. So my wife.
Yeah.
Because I'm not scared of her. But she's the only person I respect enough. She loves me more than I love myself. You know what I mean? And she would, if she was with me at that time, there's no way another cent would have gone through. No way. Not another cent. If we had our like shared bank account and, you know, we lived the way that we live now, this is all hindsight, but it's like, if that was the case, then there's no way another cent goes through. But
she wasn't going to stand.
But it's a lie. Yeah, she wasn't going to stand for it, man. She would have left me. She goes, if you play, I don't want to be with you. You know, have more discipline. Like, think about it.
And at that peak, you wouldn't have had the capacity for anything else.
I broke up with my girlfriend, man. I didn't have time. I was.
You would have been distracted as. You wouldn't have been interested in
partying, man. Yeah. I was paying for strippers, you know, like I was sponsored. My football sponsor was the strip club in Shepparton. I was a mad dog. I had this ridiculous, like, I'm not like that now, but at the time everyone parties, but I partied, right? That I was like, and that was 8 months.
And that was your
months.
ego was like so tied up in it.
Yeah. And I had this alter ego, and then when I was down and I was by myself, I was like, I was at a low, like always like coming down from the losses of gambling, but then of the drugs and stuff. So normally Tuesdays, Wednesdays are war. They were awful.
But people didn't hear about that.
No one ever pulled me up. The whole time in Shepparton, not one person pulled me up and said, you need to slow down. You know, not
especially
a teammate, not
people
a coach.
in your circle were having their own struggles.
Yeah, and that's what it was like.
It's normalized.
I was surrounding myself with people that were doing the same thing,
enablers,
you know? And we're fueling it, bro. And
enablers,
I was like, and I would like mates were peddling it, and it was like I didn't want to peddle it because I knew that I would get in heaps of shit because I would just smoke the profit. I just didn't want to get involved in that way, but I would hang out with my mates that were peddling it, and it's just this vicious cycle, man. Like
so you're just surrounded by a lot of negative influences of that, and you were one yourself.
I was, and like I said, from an early age, like I realized I corrupted young minds, man. Like I was bad. Like that was, it's so bad.
It's a big regret for you.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest, definitely.
Yeah, because you never wanted to hurt anyone else.
No. If you see what I'm like now, like I mentor, like I want to give kids opportunity, and I'll be like, I want to start, like I've dreams of starting an academy, CUDA Academy, Kick Up the Ass Academy, right? So it's just, I got to kick up the ass when I was, 26 or so, got some shit sorted, and, I got to kick up the ass on someone I appreciate, and I'll love them forever.
What was that kick up the ass?
Just a work opportunity, job opportunity, got my apprenticeship,
Got a reason.
Yeah. A reason to get up on a Monday morning and go for the grind and, get a job and something outside after football.
And something that you couldn't afford to be on a come down for.
Yeah. I pushed it. There were many a times where I needed
it out a few times.
There were bumps on the way to work because I was like, I'm not getting through today unless I have some more, whatever. But we do that. You do that.
So when you came back to Adelaide that time and you were drawing on that savings account, so there was like 30 grand left or whatever, and you're trying to get off the ice, what happened then?
It was hard, but I surrounded myself with the same people. Simple as that.
But in Adelaide.
Just in Adelaide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Old groups of friends and the football club. Like, that's what I realised is that if you're involved in a football club, I'm not saying every single one, but every single one that I played with, and I played with 10 senior football clubs, right? There was drugs. There's alcohol. There's drugs. You know, like whatever your poison is, that was there, you know? With presidents, I did lines with the president. You know, I smoked ice with my skipper. You know, like it's just that's just the club culture, and alcohol's kind of gone on the back a little bit because it's like, you know, alcohol it's horrible for corkies. If I ever had a corky, I'd be like, I'm not drinking tonight. I'm not drinking, but I'd have a 10-pack of pills. You know, like that's what it was like. I'll dance it out. You know, plenty of water, fluids. You know, stay hydrated, but I wouldn't. You know, that's like, what is that? I was that bad dude. That was like 18-year-olds that are coming through, just like, come on, like, what are you up to? And they're like, oh, you guys, what are you doing? And I'm like, nah, you're too young. And I would be like, yeah, that's what I'm ashamed of.
You were indoctrinating them into that.
Yeah. Shit person. Like a shit person. I will say this, and to the camera, can I say it to the camera?
Okay.
If you're at a club, if you're at a footy club, it's all good if you do drugs, but do not share them with someone younger than you, all right? Do not share your drugs with someone younger than you that's never done it before. Let them figure it out for themselves. Do not share with them, because that's just it's selfish, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's obviously struck a big chord with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because I did that. And it's like, if you pass that message on and if people get that, like some people will be like, this guy's a wanker. I know, but I don't care. People will be like, this guy's a wanker. He's full of himself.
Yeah,
whatever.
but you've been there.
I've been there and I've done it, right? And I was that jerk. I was that douche, right? So I was that douche, and I can speak of it.
And at the time, like you don't see it the same way because you're on it yourself. You're not thinking clearly.
And you don't want to be the bitch. And that's what it feels like. You know, I can't, and that's why I retired from, a big reason I retired from football. It's because I could no longer party like I used to, and I didn't want to. I wanted to be the family man.
You felt like that environment made you into that.
100%. So I'm 8 months sober of drinking, you know, like, because alcohol, even too, I had a beer when my brother debuted in the AFL, right? I celebrated, I had one, couple of beers.
Fair enough. And, but I felt awful. Anyway, but I had 2 beers, and if I have 2 beers, it turns into like, okay, who's got Coke? Every time. Turns into a monster, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I want to play the pokies, or I'm going to have a cigarette, straight up.
Yeah.
Not any ifs, buts, or doubts. My missus is like, you could probably have 1 beer. And I'm like, actually, Amy, I can't. I've tried it for 20 years. So I'm 34 now. 20 years. I was pissing on and taking drugs at 14. So 20 years of going and never having control. I've got control now because I don't touch it at all. If you want to quit something, you have to go boof. Anyone that says you can do a couple of beers, good luck to you. Good luck to you. But for me and for a lot of people, you have to separate yourself from those circles. It's all about, and I wrote a song lyric, it's all about the art of separation. Just deviate away from those who drain your inspiration, right? That's it. And that's what I wrote that when I was still smoking weed every day and drinking. So I wrote that song talking to someone to get off ice. But now I look back and I was so hypocritical. Now I can say it to me. So that song, and I have never recorded that song. So it's like, now I can record that song and I'm singing it to myself. Fucking spun out. But it's like, it's a message that I'm giving to other people, but ultimately it's to myself.
Some part of you knew that back then, but you weren't ready to admit it to yourself back then. Yeah.
But they say the gambling and stuff, it plateaued at the $9 spin, and I went back to, losing everything. That money, that 30 grand went, 18 months, it was all gone. Nothing to be seen, like, plus all the other stuff.
And so you were just playing footy, or were you even playing footy then?
Yeah. I moved back to Adelaide and I was, I had a really good year. Like, I played at Yankalilla.
You were having to kick a lot of goals there.
I kicked 100 goals. Like,
you really wanted to keep playing, man.
Oh, bro. I loved it, and I love Yankalilla Football Club so much. They supported me. They charted my name and shit. It was the best feeling. That's the best football club I ever played at, and I regret ever leaving there. That was. Yeah.
You must have been good to have been so fucked up the whole time.
I know. I was.
So well.
I was a gun. Yeah. But I just partied. I was Brendan Favola without getting to the AFL. Yeah. I was Brendan Favola and Benny Cousins.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it.
When you see Ben Cousins' story.
Yeah. Oh, it's heartbreaking, man. But it's he's not alone. Like his teammates, like cheque, and like, there's a lot of guys. There's guys that have died. You know, his old teammates have died, and I'm sure he's got friends that he played footy with as kids, and people along the way that have just dropped off and done the same thing. Like he's surrounded himself with people that wanted to do the same thing. But my problems. I'm a fantastic actor, I suppose, because no one knew the extent, you know, like the people I did drugs with, I did drugs with. The people I gambled with, I gambled with. The people I played footy with, I played footy with and took drugs with. The people that I loved and I'd had the Sunday night roasts and dinner with, they see me when I was...
But none of them had the full picture.
No.
Yeah,
no one knew who I was. Not my brother. Like, that's why my brother called me try to fake. I was fake.
Did you feel like that?
Yeah. Partially, because I knew I was hiding my addictions. Like no one knew my addictions. So it was like I was hiding them from everybody. So my parents and it's bad. And then like
it's a big weight to carry as well.
Yeah.
Like without even realizing it. Or if you get used to it enough, then it's just sort of your life.
And the process to recovery started with losing the gambling addiction, which was when I first went to my psychologist. I was completely broke, back to just being pay to pay, you know, like all the big winnings are gone, and I was just pay to pay, like $1,000 a week. Went to him and I broke down crying, and I told him I have a gambling addiction, and then he asked me questions, you know, similar to what you've done. And that's what I realized men's health and mental health is. As soon as you talk about it, oh my God, the problem's just like, I walked out of that first night bawling my eyes out, man, letting it all out. It was a beautiful thing. Walking out of there just like, whew. And I told my now wife that I'd talked to him, and I told him to the extent, she knew that I was gambling, but she didn't know the extent because we didn't have a joint account. She didn't know the extent, but I told her. She was upset because she was just like, are you really gambling $1,000? Like, she was fucking losing it.
Pretty worrying.
Worrying because I'm hiding it. It's like, what else is there? Are you
and there was
seeing other girls, you know, like, you know, she kind of knew that I was partying. She knew that I partied, didn't know how much, but she knew that on Saturday night until bloody Monday morning, don't even bother trying to contact me. I was horrible. I was a horrible boyfriend, really. But talking to Rowie, telling him I felt better. I still gambled after that day, but I gambled with a bit of like strength, you know, a little bit of strength where I'd walk out when I won. You know, I never used to walk out when I won. I used to win and then put it all back and bet harder. Yeah. So I started walking out when I won, but then it still carried on. It took probably 3 years from when I told Rowie that I'd completely, you know, I've got control of it to what I have.
And was it other people knowing about it helped because they started to keep you a bit more accountable? What was the key to actually kicking it?
Just, there you go. Well, what I said earlier, it's just knowing, and one person knowing. So Amy, my wife, knew like how much I was gambling, and then I'd be ashamed if I'd done a bit too much, you know. So then I had to pull the reins in it, you know. This week I can't do any more because like we're saving up for this.
Because you had someone relying on you that wasn't you.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So if you have a gambling problem, what you need to do to get over your gambling problem is take the control of your money out of your hands. Not 100%, but you need to have someone else needs to know how much you're gambling. And as soon as one other person knows how much you're gambling, unless hopefully they're not big gamblers as well, you don't go and get someone else that's bloody next to you poking. Like, you're just like, I'll bet 500. Yeah, it's got to be your mum, your dad,
someone
your uncle, your auntie,
you accountable.
Someone that's going to understand as well. Like someone that's gambled and has come through is a big one. Like someone that gambles that has control, and you feel like they definitely have control. Someone that's not going to judge you. It's hard. Like it's a hard one.
How do you know you've got control now?
I know that because I'm just not excited by it. And like I know that I'm
now?
I went on a holiday. Let's say when I went up to see my brother play his debut. We were out and I was with my wife and my daughter, and there was a pokie room in New South Wales, and I was like, should I slap 20 through? And she's like, yeah, go on, we're on holiday. And I was just like, how funny, how ironic. You know what I mean? I put it through, lost straight away, walked out, and I didn't feel bad. It's kind of like, it's such a good thing to be able to do that, you know? And then the craving's not there, like to go on and keep, you know, go and go, oh no, I've got to get another 50 out, I've got to get 100, I've got to chase that back, you know, I've got to owe the, oh fuck. And then you're in that cycle.
Didn't have that feeling?
No.
Do you think though, what if you were there by yourself and you did it?
If I was there by myself
And you
and
had
I
a
did
few
it,
beers and like,
oh
is
yeah,
it
well, that's
still a
trouble.
risk?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm sober. Is that if I have 2 beers, I turn into the monster. I am. My mates call me Frank the Tank, but I am. Old school. Old school. Will Ferrell and Frank the Tank. Like if I have a couple of beers, man, I just want to turn it up, and I am the loosest person. Anyone that's drank a beer with me or had a session with me, they know I'll get my dick out. Like I'll get naked. Like 100%. I'm not afraid of it. Little dick as well. Nothing to be proud of. Like nothing to show off. But I just get naked because it breaks all barriers, and it's like I can have a good time with this dude. You know what I mean?
You
like,
want to be that.
Yeah, I'm like
Part
whatever.
of you. You've just got that.
If we're here to party, we're here to party.
You've got that demon in you that can take it further than just about anyone else.
Yeah.
And there's probably some level of pride that used to be attached to that. If it's still not, that's very hard to let go of, being that ego.
Yeah.
And I am just completely guessing at that because I don't have any personal experience.
Yeah, I see it. You look like Steve-O actually, but I'm Steve-O that never got filmed. I'm Steve-O before.
That's
like
the key,
the
man.
flip cam.
Yeah.
I'm so freaking grateful. There's footage, right? There is footage, and it will come out. If I ever run for Premier or something, I know I'm gonna get shafted. But some of my
planning to run for Premier?
Nah. No, why would you? But like if you ever make it or whatever, it's like, as soon as you make it, then all these things from the past come up. Mate, I've said it. I'm an open book, But there's at my Bucks too, bro. I was amazing. I was amazing. I was naked. I was doing whack shit. I was doing weird shit. Like, oh, bro, that was bad.
So, have you had to let that fun sort of loose part of yourself go completely?
Yeah, it's all a movie.
But you're still a character. You're still that guy. You're still full of a lot of life. Probably in some ways, and certainly in a much healthier way
100%.
than before.
So I retired from football and I got into the best thing possible, musical theatre.
It's a different sort of space.
Yeah, I'm still like playing full forward. It's like you're the star of the show. You feel like you got to put on a show for everyone. As soon as I'm on the stage doing musical theatre, I love it. Like it's my home, and I'm able to be loose without taking drugs, without drinking, and you don't have to laugh, but I feel good.
Yeah, so it's another form of expression.
Yeah,
I think people wouldn't have guessed that from you. From watching this, that you're
no,
but you are.
But it's rap, like I rap. Yeah. Like it's not beautiful music. Like how? It's musical theatre, but it's like hip hop spoken word. It's like it's expression. It's just you can be someone else. So I've always wanted to be someone else. I've got these characters inside me in my mind from when I took lots of drugs, and I've written it down. But I've got movies for days, ideas, synopsises, like everything for these ideas, and it's like I've got a lifetime to fulfill them now. So I've got all this thoughts and stuff like that. Now that I'm actually practicing what I preach, and I'm going through with stuff. So if I'm going to do it, I can do it sober. You can do things without the influence.
Do you want to be yourself now?
Yeah, I am. Like I'm so like now that I've stopped the drinking, I'm like, wow, I've actually surprised myself. You know what I mean? Like, because stopping ice is like, that's hard. That's really hard, right? To stop ice because you need to lose a lot of friends and you come down. It's awful. To stop smoking dope, that's hard because I love it. I love it. I love the high. It's like my favorite thing. But I stopped it. Stopping cigarettes is easier because they stink and they're disgusting. That's what I keep telling myself. But alcohol's the hardest. Gambling is in there amongst it. But alcohol is so hard because the culture, it's there.
Yeah.
You're going to catch up. Oh, do you want to catch up for a beer, Dundas? Do you want to catch up for a beer? And I'm like, don't drink. Do you want to catch up? And I feel like some friends don't want to see me anymore because they don't want to put me under that pressure. I understand that. But it's like, that is the hardest one in this Australian culture with no religion behind me. Like, because I say to people that don't drink, they're like, you're a pussy. You're a bitch.
You're like, mate, let me tell you some stories.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, look, I've done enough partying, and maybe I will drink, in the future, but I can't do it now. Like until you have control, and it's like, yeah, I could happily go walk through the casino without urges to go and spend heaps of money because I know that if as soon as I spend, my missus will get a notification and be like.
So it's obvious to me that the main part of it was that you needed a bigger reason, and it's when you had that from your missus and then now from your child, that is what's inspired you to want to be this man that you are now for someone else, like for yourself 100%. As well.
Yeah.
But because it's bigger than you.
And
I think that is a common theme for so many people struggling with whatever they're struggling with. If you leave it just down to you and you feel like you're the only one that you're hurting, lots of people don't love themselves enough or care enough to change.
Yeah, that's it, man. And another huge one is leading. And so if I say I'm going to drink, I say it and I'm loud and I'm proud about it. Or if I say I'm going to stop doing something, you know, lead from the front and inspire someone else to do it. You know, I'd love for someone to be able to say, look, your story inspired me so much. I'm actually going to stop now as well. Like that will make me so happy. Like that will make me so happy, man. Because I know that they'll do the same.
Yeah, and you're in the position where you can now talk about that because you've been there.
Yeah.
And that's the key. People have to have been there for others to actually listen. They can see in your eyes when you're talking that you get it and you have taken it as far as it can be taken and that you found a way out of it. And then they'll listen to you. Yeah. You're not going to listen to someone who hasn't been there.
And the government trying to say, like, don't do drugs. How the government say, like, trying to get kids to stop taking drugs, it pisses me off beyond belief, because in the same breath, there's advertisement everywhere for alcohol.
And gambling.
Right? So you're telling kids and you're saying that cocaine's bad and it's like ice is bad and marijuana's bad because you're not getting a tax from it, right? Alcohol is the problem. This is all I want. And I don't want to run for parliament or anything, but I will stand by this. I will say all advertisement for alcohol should be abolished. You don't need to advertise. Everyone knows it's a bottle shop. You don't need to have these pretty adverts on TV saying this is the most refreshing drink in the world. It's like, we know it's refreshing, but water's dope. Like, water's so good. You know, water's so good it doesn't need to promote itself. Feel me? Do you understand what I'm saying there? But alcohol and gambling have got this like free reign. It's like William Hill and all these ridiculous, like, oh, you bet we're going to give you $2.50, we'll give you your money back, and I'm just like, but gamble responsibly. It's like, bro. Yeah, I want to punch the screen every time I see it.
It's such a throwaway. Yeah. It's like everyone knows.
I hate that there's so many people employed by it, so I don't want them to lose their jobs. Like, keep doing what you're doing, but please, like, I wish, this is what I will probably push forward in the future, is to abolish any advertisement towards gambling and these horrible addictions, because people will kill themselves because of these addictions. And they allow these addictions. And then people will be like, oh, shut up, mate. Like, just don't do it. Just don't gamble, bro.
It's not
like that, man. It's not the point.
Yeah.
It's not the point. If the government are real and they really honestly care about the youth, just abolish the advertisement, the big billboards with alcohol on it, like promoting how good it is.
What do you think about just how rampant gambling is, especially sports betting now for young men? Like, pretty much everyone who knows on it because we love sport, and it's all through all sport, and it's also normalized, and it's so easy because it's just like on the phone. Like, people aren't going to go down to the TAB like you used to have to, but it's just like bang on the phone, and it's just, you know, it's the attitude is not like, oh, watching a game of footy or whatever, just to watch it. It's like, oh, you're not putting a bet on. Like, not putting a bet on is like weird.
It is out of control. It is so out of control. And if I had my gambling problem now, I'd be caught up in it so bad. It's just gross how accessible it is for kids underage, for anyone.
And what do you say to the people that you mentor, or just to any young guys listening to this?
Mate, just show, if you're gambling, just make sure someone else knows what you're doing. You know, try and keep you honest. Just don't feel ashamed, but just tell someone. You know what I mean? Like, just tell someone, yeah, man, I had a bad loss. Like, I had a bad loss on the weekend. And you'll feel better for it. And you'll learn from that mistake. And you'll learn not to go that hard, you know? Like,
that honesty.
That honesty will save you in the long run. The honesty will save you from ending your life. You know, I don't want anyone I'd hate the thought of someone to end their life because of a gambling. But it's the same as drugs and alcohol, man. Because you get yourself into such a big hole. And now with credit and pay, oh my God, like credit card, betting with credit cards, man. And the government giving people 10 grand. Like, it's like tapping into your super and people gambling with that shit. That's when there's an issue. Because that's what people are doing. And people have told me, like mates have told me, they're like, I've just had a hell of a time. Like, you're not going to get an opportunity to take super out the rest of your life. So I took an opportunity. They bought a TV and they went hard and partied and gambled and did whatever. shit, man. Like, I just hope that someone sees it today and it's just passes it on, you know? That's what it is.
Yeah, I think people are going to believe it coming from you, and because it has so much impact.
Yeah.
When I can see talking to you that you feel it in your soul that it's had such a massive impact on you. Man. I think it's so impressive how you are now able to be so reflective and honest about it, and see it for what it was, but also not feel like you need to carry that for the rest of your life, or that you always had to be that person, that you managed to get past it and you can reflect on it and learn from it and use it to help other people now. It doesn't define who you are now. But you also have the bravery and the level of care to want to actually tell people about it and use it for something positive, because it needs to be heard. There's a lot of people in that situation. You're not unique. You know?
It's not what it was, it's what it is. Right? So you're not what you were. It's what you are now, man. Like, live, you know, and you can move forward and you can always overcome these things. You just need to open up, just talk, man, and cry. Like, if that's the message, it's just open up and tell someone what you're doing. That's it.
That's it, bro. Thanks, man.
Cheers, brother.
That is it. If you're a fan of the work we're doing or have a suggestion for the show, please rate us on Apple Podcasts and leave a comment. You can follow Youngblood Men's Health Matters on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube, and visit our website youngbloodmedia.com.au to stay up to date. And most importantly, if this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone you love